Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of On the Other Line Canada. Looks like I get to start the show off by saying it right this time. For any of you that saw last night's broadcast and the 5 questions with, man, it's cold in this garage. My heater died, and apparently my brain froze with it. So the heater's on, the tank is full. We had a lot of exciting stuff to talk about this evening. And for many of you that don't know the Horseshoe Kid, Adam Turnbull, check him out on YouTube, Facebook. He's all over the place. He likes to share a lot of his information, trips, tips. We've got a lot of tips to talk about tonight. Some stuff I'm going to grill him on, and some stuff he doesn't know that's coming. I won't flip it over. We'll see if he's on his toes, because we don't want to have everything, pre-planned. So without much further, we're going to bring him in. Doesn't really need any introduction, but here he is, Adam Turnbull, the Horseshoe Kid. Adam, welcome to this week's edition of On the Other Line Canada. Great to see you, man.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me. How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's having a great night. I'm excited to be here, man.
You know what? We've got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. And what's been awesome is last week, our first broadcast, Mitch Lilly was on here. Now, rumor is he's going to come on today, and I'm not going to take up too much time, but I told Mitch earlier, anyone that doesn't follow Mitch on Facebook to see what he was up to today, I'm a little bit upset. I didn't get an invite. I know it was by choice because he owes me a couple pins. The pins he sent me didn't pan out, so we'll discuss that later. We got some people already checking in. We got some comments. Hi, Barb.
Hi, Barb.
Yeah, I'm wearing it. Anyone that doesn't know Barb from Fish Whipped Apparel, you've seen my posts. I'm wearing it this evening. We'll talk about that one a little bit later.
Yeah, I saw your package. It's wicked.
Phenomenal. And you know what's funny? Everything we wear around here isn't long enough. It's long enough.
Nice.
Hi, Lloyd. Welcome to the show. Got a lot of people just checking in. For anyone that isn't into Facebook, any of your friends, you're talking about the show, don't forget we're on YouTube as well. Adam, did you notice I put up the blooper? I bet you did. The blooper is up just on YouTube. There's some exciting stuff going on YouTube. So if you haven't checked out On the Other Line Canada, our YouTube channel, we've got some pretty cool stuff on there. We're going to have some awesome product reviews coming up as well in the future. So I think it's going to be great. We got Lloyd, Dan, Bill Allen's in the house. So we definitely want to make sure.
That guy's a legend. Bill's a legend.
Okay. I was telling Marcy about this the other day. We were talking about, have you ever lost your cell phone down the hole?
No, not personally. Thank God.
Okay. Bill Allen, I don't know what it is with this guy, but if you haven't seen his double release or just going for a swim to get his phone, you guys got to check this guy out. Like, Bill, kudos, man. I actually can't swim. I wouldn't do it. When we talked about laying on the ice last night, sure, let's go ice fishing and go for a dip. Anyways, if you haven't checked out Bill Allen, pop over, check him out. Tonight's full focus, the Horseshoe Kid, Adam Turnbull. Dude, you've been having a phenomenal season. One thing I really enjoy is that you're all about being able to give back through the passion of fishing. We see a lot of your videos, a lot of your tips and tricks. We're going to talk about them this evening. And I think it's just inspiring for people, even like myself. You and I have done a lot of trips together, and I learn something from you every time, man. So it's one of those things where you think you know everything, and you don't really know everything until you've gone fishing with Adam.
And I don't know everything either. I'm constantly learning, so it's a lot of fun, man.
Always be learning, right?
Yeah. If you're not learning, you're not progressing. You're not catching bigger fish. So
it's half the fun. And there's gonna be a few things I might just have to call you out on, because you got the wheel turning after last night. I didn't sleep. I was up at 3:00 going, man, I got to ask him about this, and this. So the list is long.
All right.
We're going to try and do it in an hour. Mitch Lilly's going to join us towards the end because he knows some stuff about some stuff, and we already know what that topic's going to be.
Absolutely.
You know, Adam, where did it all begin for you? What brought you into the passion of fishing?
Yeah, so I grew up in Sarnia, Ontario. A lot of people may not know that, but I grew up there. I grew up fishing with my grandpa. My grandpa used to tell me there's three people that matter in the world, Adam. There's Jesus, there's Don Cherry, and there's Bob Izumi, and not necessarily in that order either. So I was brought up like fishing is very important. So me and Grandpa, we used to fish the Blue Water Anglers Salmon Derby back there. And like I could pretty much narrow down to the moment where it was like, yeah, I love this. So one time we went to the Toronto boat fishing and boat show. I picked out this lure. I was pretty young. I think I was 12 years old. Pick out this green and purple, ugly looking, I don't know, 3 or 4 inch stick bait. And Grandpa says, "Okay, yeah, you can pick that one. You can take that one home." So I took it home, and we're in the Derby the next year. We're trolling down the river, and I got that tied on, and I go, "Grandpa, I think we need to cut across the river." Cut across the river. Boom! I hooked up with a 14.5-pound brown trout, and I came second overall in the trout category, but first in the under 18 for biggest fish. And that moment right there, like. I was like, I love this. I made a decision and it worked, and my grandpa praised me for it. That was it for me.
Man, that's amazing. And you know, it's one of those things, when we talked about this last week, it's always about the young people, the younger generation, where it's up to us to really be like up front and center in the industry, to be able to share our passion and to be able to pass on. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's most kids that probably wouldn't share my hotspots too, but hey, I'll share some tips, right? You know, it's
absolutely.
What it's all
We
about.
gotta nurture the younger generation, because like a lot of times too, as kids are gonna be like, well, you know, we didn't catch any fish. We didn't catch any fish again. We didn't catch any fish again. I don't know if I really want to keep going and doing this, but if you can like give them the tips and the information to like get them on some fish, they're gonna start to really enjoy it. So. I like to definitely help people out.
Yeah, I would agree with you 110%. You know, we're on where it all began. Usually this is all about you, right? Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure the heater's on. It's cold. I'm prepping for tomorrow's outing.
I'm in the nice warm office, 20 degrees. I got the hoodie on just cause.
Troubled life. Love it.
Yeah.
Bryce is on next week. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it.
I want to talk about where it all began for me.
All right.
The first time we met. Now, I know last night I tried this. Everyone bear with me. I'm still a rookie. And you already know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little story called Hook, Line, and Finger. So, Adam, the first time I met you, we fished a body of water, which I mean most people in Alberta have probably never even heard of, the Bow River.
Yeah, it's really rare.
It's a love-hate relationship with everybody.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hook, Line, and Finger. This is my very first time where it all began with you, Adam Turnbull. This is a brown. We won't say who hooked it, but I will say who went to unhook it has a little something in their hand. Do they not? Why don't you tell us about that day, Adam?
Yeah, I think the only reason I'm holding that fish is because right behind its head, there's a treble buried in my hand, and there's no way that we're getting it out very quickly. Of my hand anyways. But
what made me think of it was Darren and I were out last week, and all I heard was, "Oh no." I'm like, okay, oh no, well, we can deal with oh no. And I thought, you know, maybe you lost a fish. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, oh, there's a treble in my hand. I'm like, you know what makes me think of a story the first time I met Adam. I'm not gonna lie, Payne and myself don't get along. It would be off to the hospital. I've never seen the commitment from someone like Adam, who just grabs his pliers, turns his head, and just gives her a yank and right back to fishing. So, you know, I think that's probably one of my more fond memories of you, and realizing that, hey, the Horseshoe Kid is a little bit crazy. I love it.
Well, I remember, so I was just starting to fish the bow at that point. So I was struggling. Like I wanted a big brown. I was getting rainbows. I was getting rockies, but I wanted a big brown, and you hooked that fish. And I remember being like, he hooked a tank. Like, we got to get back out fishing. Like, I was just so excited to be there that like, it was like this, there's no way we're going anywhere. This hook's coming out and I'm throwing a cast. Like, we got to get going.
Fishing is too good to go anywhere. Let's just get her done. Again, I couldn't do it. I've had it happen once when I was younger, and I believe the knife didn't even hit my back. I was blackout. So again, anyone that's fished with me knows that if Todd goes down, it's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I've had the hook in the finger multiple times since then. It doesn't get any like less painful, but definitely keep fishing. Pull it
never
out.
gets any easier, right?
There's a lot of like really smart methods. Maybe the pliers pull out isn't the best one, but you guys can get it out.
The thing I always find is it's like fishing knots, right? It's always an awesome knot. You've tied it 100 times until you really need to remember how to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how to remove this hook. I'm just going to rip it out. Let's keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I see like the fishing line around and then yank it out, but for me, it's just pliers and hard.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, man, no, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Panic. Well, into our next topic. We talked about this with Mitch last week. I mean, I don't think you're struggling, but for a lot of us, the struggle is real. It's been a tough season. There's a lot of activity on the ice. Where I was last week, it's Swiss cheese. Mm-hmm. Everybody's been out there. Bodies of water being hit hard. What are you finding down in Medicine Hat? Are you finding the same issue?
Right. So Southern Alberta, our population density is a little less, so it's not quite as bad, but there definitely is a lot of pressure hitting the lakes. I mean, if you roll up to any of the stocked trout ponds, you're going to see 60, 70 people right now. So a lot of your like typical spots that you hit are going to have people in them. And I mean, that's fine because it's just going to push you to learn new things. And like we talked about earlier, if you're not learning, you're not progressing. So like a lot of these things are pushing me to new places. And honestly, Todd, like I've caught some incredible fish fishing some new spots this year that I probably wouldn't have been if the pressure wasn't on. So I'm definitely seeing a lot of people out, which I think is great. And it's forcing me to move around, but I think it's doing me for the better, honestly.
Yeah, I think it really pushes someone to get out there and strive to do better. I know tomorrow, I mean, I have something planned where I'm not going to lie, I'm not looking forward to the walk, but I know that the potential is that there's something lurking where I know it needs to be, and I'm willing to put in the effort and strap that 250-pound sled on my back, and I'm trucking, man.
Absolutely.
So I think you're right. It really pushes us to get out there and do what we can to find those fish. I mean, that's just part of, we'll call it the addiction, right? So.
And one thing that I've also noticed is while there is a lot of people on the ice, there's next to no one who spends the night. So if you watch my YouTube videos, I've been on the ice the last 7 weekends in a row. I've spent a night or 2 nights even, some weekends. You're seeing next to no people and a ton of action, of action.
So does that mean you're taking this weekend off?
No, I'm heavy on the night shift right now. So that's probably why I haven't seen the blooper reel. I'm just like kind of waking up, getting going. But yeah, I don't know. The night shift helps me with the night bite.
It's a tough adjustment. I mean, most of us are just kicking back, relaxing for the evening. Right. I know I am. Prep some gear for tomorrow. You're leaving here. You're going to work.
I got to work in an hour and 15 minutes. So,
you know what? I would say I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you.
My knuckles are sore.
You were showing me last night. You look like you've been battling big fish. I mean, that's what we can tell everyone, right? So
yeah, large pike for sure.
Absolutely. So we wanted to talk about bodies of water. And one thing I'm always intrigued to hear is everyone has their own favorite bodies of water. Now, obviously, we're not going to discuss pins. You've already sent them to me. I'm going to be heading down there tomorrow. Check that out. What is your go-to body of water this year, Adam?
Well, I live in Southern Alberta, right? I'm a Southern Alberta boy. I love big pike and I love big walleye. So just north of me, about an hour. Well, I guess like northwest a little bit. We got Brooks, which home of Lake Newell, which Bryce will talk about tomorrow. But if you want big walleye and big pike, guys, like I would almost say it's one of the best bodies of water in Canada for them. You hear guys talk about those Lake Winnipeg greenbacks, and they're huge. But when you talk to them, they're like 29 inches. I've caught 3 30-inch fish in the last month and a half. So there's big fish in there. And as long as you're willing to move around, like that's one place that's heavily pressured. So as long as you're willing to move around, get away from the crowds a little bit, make sure you're finding the proper structure, learning the lake a little bit, you're going to find extremely large fish.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think it's the one thing sometimes I even struggle with. I'm always about the move. I find sometimes I'm moving in the wrong direction. Again, I mean, you've had a couple of videos that have popped up that have really kind of inspired me to kind of look at things differently when we're looking at structure and location. You know, we're seeing a lot of people with that pressure that are just wanting to know, well, where are you fishing? Like exact spots. When, you know, there's so much with technology and availability with maps that as you get into it, it just takes a little bit of studying and learning. And, you know, for many of us, we're already sharing our tips and locations, maybe not exact coordinates, but what you need to do to find those fish. And I think, you know, like we've been talking about already this evening, it's just a matter of being able to hunt for them, right?
Absolutely.
They're not going to be sitting concentrated in one spot.
Yeah, and like
Newell
from
is
what
a
so
big body of water.
yeah, like I'll film a video, say like I'll film it like a stock trout video. And then I'll have a buddy say, "Hey man, where were you?" And I'll be like, "Oh well, this is where I was, man." And they'll go there the next day and, "Hey, I got skunked. What happened?" Like the fish are moving. Like so like when I'm giving tips in my videos, is I'm always trying to tell people like utilize the tips. Don't necessarily utilize like, okay, that's the background, that's where he is. Utilize the tips I'm telling you, like the lure, the depth, the structure, the bottom, like because that's what's going to help you find the fish. Because I might be able to catch 25 brook trout here one day, and I've gone back the next weekend and I'll catch one.
Right.
But if I move over here, the same structure, but in a different part of the lake, then I can catch those 25 again, right? Like,
yeah,
it's all about using your knowledge of everything instead of just being like, hey, where is that?
Yeah, I would agree with you. And like I say, your videos are just a wealth of knowledge for me for that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not going to lie. Spent some time like screenshotting, zooming in. Where is that place? I know that bank. That blade grass looks familiar, man. I've walked that area. You know, and you've kind of already mentioned it already. Your target species this year, and you've done exceptionally well, is walleye.
Yeah, I've caught a lot of walleye this year. It's been a lot of fun. Well, they get a little bit of a bad rep for not being the greatest fighters, but if you got a 30-inch walleye on and he's head shaking, you know it. Like you can't deny that fish is a beast. So,
yeah.
And the southern Alberta walleye, I think they're beautiful. The deep blacks and golds, like what an incredible looking fish, eh?
It is really amazing. And you know what I love about walleye? You're kind of right about the fight. Not going to lie there. You just don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
It just feels like the color of every walleye, you know, even the temperament. Is the fin coming up? You got to give them a rub, get them to show. Mm-hmm. There's always something that's just a little bit different.
I've caught some the last couple of nights out where they're like, their gills are just flared for the photo. They're perked right up. They're just pissed, right? Yeah. I love that. To me, they're just like the ultimate, like, sure, pike are big, mean fish, but I bet you a walleye will take out a pike the same size, no problem.
Yep. Now, Barb is asking, you know, what's your favorite fish to catch and where? Is it safe to assume that Newell and walleye would kind of be the answer to that, just based on our conversation last night?
Honestly, I wouldn't say that's safe to assume because brook trout are probably my favorite species to chase in Alberta, honestly. There's a few good lakes for them, but when you get into those big fired up males in late fall and early ice, like sight fishing them through a big hole, I mean, it's something very, very special.
It is a thrill. And I mean, as you know, brook trout are getting harder and harder to find out here. Mm-hmm. You know, we're talking about Bill Allen earlier. I don't know if you've seen the brookies that dude catches. And
oh yeah,
I have an idea. I know that, you know, we got that tracking device on his vehicle, but that's a whole nother topic. Maybe we'll get Bill on here to kind of share some of experience in the future, you know. And even though we're talking about walleye, we're still talking about Newell. And Conrad's asking a question: what's the largest pike you have caught?
The largest pike I've caught would be out of Newell. It's 44 inches. I don't have a cradle, so I didn't weigh it. but I definitely estimated around 25 pounds. It was a thick unit. I could send him a picture later if you wanted, but yeah, like 44 inches. I've caught a few I caught one that was 43 3/4 actually the next day, but it was a lot leaner. So,
I mean, I would have to say the one you caught at Christmas had to be up there, right? I mean, the hunt for
you know what? That fish actually, it was 39.75. It was definitely over 20 pounds.
Wow.
That was a short, well, not short, but that was a stocky fish. Like if you look at its guts rolled over my hand, that's a big fish.
Absolutely. I know my largest is actually not out of Newell, and it was in a place that I didn't expect to see it.
Yeah.
42 and 42.5. I'll say 0.5. Let's round up 43. No, 42 inches. And I mean, it's astounding to see the power that these fish have and just the sheer size, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I watched the video from Diefenbaker Guiding yesterday of Adam Conrad catching a giant. Well, sorry, his clients catching a giant. Was that ever cool? And the girth on that fish, wow.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's seen the Conrad boys and how they fish,
yeah,
dude, like legend.
There's no doubt that fish was 30 pounds all day.
Easily.
Look, when it's laid on the ground, it looks like it's foot up off the ice.
Yeah, and I'm happy I don't swim. I'd make a good snack. Oh, I think we have an open invite from Bill here. Bill, we're going to hold you to that. He's just saying river eyes in the fall are the best. Actually, I would agree.
I see Bill catch some beauty river eyes. And you know what? Honestly, so if we were to talk about my biggest walleye definitely does not come from Newell. It comes from the river, the South Saskatchewan there. That fall walleye bite, you can get some true monsters. They might not be quite as fat, but they definitely are huge. I've got a 32 out of the river. So
I've personally been with Mitch when he's been to a very small river body. And I mean, that fish was like 31 all day long, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're not specifically going to be located to those large bodies of water, but I mean, when
a lot of people would be surprised. I've caught 27-inch walleye in creeks you could spit across. They're so small. Those fish they're hardy fish, and they move through small creeks, and especially in the springtime, like early spring when they go up to spawn and they're coming out, they're going to stack at those creek mouths, and you can get on some great walleye, and then once again in the fall.
Yeah, when the feed bag is on, it's on, man.
Absolutely.
Well, you won't give me any hot spots, so you're gonna have to give us all some tackle tips.
Tackle tips.
I don't want to call you out, but last night you said something. I won't bring it up quite yet.
Okay.
But you said something that got my wheels turning because, like I say, every time we fish, there's something different.
Right.
And you mentioned last night that you are not a fan of fluoro as a leader. You're using mono.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I just like the stretch. It absorbs your head shakes really, really well. I mean, your rod tip is ideally what's going to absorb your head shakes, right? When you're dipping. But I find that mono stretch, especially when you're ice fishing, when you're at the bottom of the hole. Yeah, sure, fluoro it stands up a little bit better. But realistically, how much is your line rubbing on rocks and stuff when you're ice fishing? Not very often, right? You're going to rub on the ice a little bit, but I don't think that's enough to mix with your mono. So I like it because it absorbs the head shakes a little bit better. And you're like, I fish a lot of flutter spoons. It just falls a little slower.
Well, I guess I know what I'm changing tonight. I'll have to dig through the old tackle box here and see what's going on. We might have to talk about that a little more. And like I say, it's funny because everyone has their own, you know, not just methods or products, but, you know, just their own ideas. And, you know, I think that sometimes that's how you really start to fine tune sort of your skills is, you know, you find your groove, you find things that maybe someone hasn't thought about or has thought about, just different ideas in presentation and ways to go after these big fish, right?
And I think that's all it is like maybe there isn't a huge difference in it, but in my head the difference is there, and I have the feel difference. So I definitely enjoy mono leaders a lot better.
Yeah, like I say, there's been a lot of stuff I've actually changed because of the way I see you fish.
Well,
Usually I
mono
jealous.
floats technically, right? If you
What's
ever
that?
put mono line on the water, it floats, right? So it's
Dude,
gonna fall slower in the water with your spoon.
you have
That's
more
that's
patience
the way
than I
my
have.
mind works, anyways.
I thought I was the patient one in this friendship. Now I'm like, dude's looking to see how quick mono and flirt. Like, honestly, though, people don't think of this stuff, right? And
What makes the difference?
well, you know what? I don't know. I'll let Marcy know to run the tub for me. I think right after this broadcast, we'll just run upstairs and check out the whole mono versus fluoro float
Sync
test
test.
product demo.
There
Hey,
we go.
maybe product demo for the YouTube channel.
There we go. 8 pound versus 8 pound.
Challenge accepted.
Although I do use fluoro when it comes to like quick strike rigs, it's just gonna hold up to your pike bite a little bit better.
Yeah, that's one thing I have noticed, the way you set your stuff up presentation wise. And actually, I've tried what you're talking about, and it seems to work considerably better.
Yeah. And I mean, I've caught a ton of walleye on this setup here, guys. This is just a quick strike rig. I mean, December walleye are definitely putting the feed bag on. I feel like they kind of do like a double post or pre-spawn. So they feed super heavy in December into January, and then it kind of slows down a little bit, and then it picks up in February, March again.
Absolutely.
So I was catching them on great big suckers on a quick strike rig, and I just use a weight off the bottom. This is something I don't ever see anyone use. It's just a weight off the bottom, and then it holds your sucker's head so it sits like this, right? So it looks like the sucker's feeding in the sand.
Let me just make a note of that here. If you could send me 10 of those rigs, that would be phenomenal.
Send the YouTube videos. It's all there, guys. I promise.
Well, again, I've been screenshotting and looking at locations, so it's all cut up. But you know, I mean, the first time I saw you do that, logically it makes sense. But when you're fishing, you're like, let's just get the bait down the hole, right? And so many of these species are about like, oh, just throw a chunk of bait on a hook and let's see what happens. There's a lot more to it, and I think you're proving that across the board, right? I mean,
I think in ice fishing, a lot of it comes down to I'm cold. I just got to get this bait, especially when it comes to tip ups. Anyways, I'm cold. I just got to get this back down there.
Yep.
And you got to remember to just take the time, because realistically, at the end of the day, what your plan is to pull a fish out into that cold. So you got to be like prepared and have everything set up right so that you can land that fish and then get it back down safely, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Don't take shortcuts.
Yep. Bobby's making a comment in here. We all know who Bobby is, right? You heard of this guy?
Oh, yeah. What's up, Bobby?
What's going on, Bobby?
Sturgeon master.
What's that?
Sturgeon master, Bobby.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you give him that title, not me. I'm not getting involved in this love battle.
Giants.
He's just saying that fluoro has a faster sink rate. He uses mono leaders for dry and for dry flies, and fluoro for nymph and streamers.
Okay. Yeah, Bobby's super knowledgeable when it comes to fly fishing. So I definitely use fluoro when I am fly fishing too, and that's probably something that he taught me.
Well, the Bow City Reeler for a reason, right?
Yeah, he's a legend.
He's having a good chuckle about that. Let's not pump him up too much.
Okay. We'll get that ego all inflated on him.
Yeah. So last night you were talking about your affliction with rattle jigs. I know we have a couple more topics, and everyone's like, well, it's only 6:30. Quit rushing the kid, man. Like, he's a wealth of knowledge. The truth of the fact is you have so many tips and tricks. I'm going to let you go to talk about your affliction with rattle jigs for starters, and then I'm going to follow it up with another thing that I've learned from you, which I thought was really cool, and I've actually quizzed 12 other people about it just to see if they follow you or not. No one knew about this. So you start with your rattle jig. Let's see what you're having experience with those and your affliction with that rattle jig setup.
All right, guys. So like I say, I fish a lot at night. So glow is huge, and then noise is huge, right? Noise is going to bring those fish in. So rattle jigs is what I've been using a lot of. brass rattles, big sky flies and jigs makes these ones. They're glow super good and they're super loud. The key is there's two things. Obviously, you got to have a UV light to glow it up properly. But there are two things I notice when I'm using, because I fish jigs a lot. So this one, obviously, you can see no stinger attached. I do attach a stinger, guys. You're going to notice sometimes your walleye are short striking you. You're just going to nip the tail of that minnow. That's when the stinger is going to come in handy. So that's super clutch. But the rattle jig itself, whether it's stand up, like this one here, which has the stinger tied on, the stand up jig or the round jig. Those are my two favorites there. But yeah, so the stinger is super clutch. Especially lately because those walleye, like I say, they're slowing down now as we move into later January and into February. So the stinger for the tail, just because they're going to bite it about halfway up your minnow. Whereas earlier in the year, they were just inhaling it. So your straight jig was perfect.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know I actually meant to bring out, and I forgot, go figure, one of my favorite go-tos for a walleye is the Kamuki Glow Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
That really works awesome towards the end of the night. Or like, you know, the rock hard banana bombers, they got those fins when you're jigging, it's just making that noise.
Yeah, or like the other thing I was going to say is flasher jigs, like thumper jigs. So you're going to pound that off bottom and lift it up, and you just got that little extra bit of flash there to help bring them in, right?
Yeah, they just love it, right? So, you know, we talked about me stealing tips. We're going to talk about this quickly.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think everybody knows what this is. For those of you that don't, this is a jaw jacker, right? It's become a very popular hook set product on the market. Now, I have an auto base, and I'm watching your video, and all I see this kid do is pull out an earplug. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? Well, if you haven't seen Adam's video, you know, we got the trigger here. We'll just release it. Right? So you got your trigger. Now, something you experienced, and I've experienced multiple times, is that with the auto base, when your line freezes up in that temperature, you know, I mean, we're always trying to keep the hole clean. And that line, let's get it up there, right here where your line goes on that trigger, it freezes up and your line pops off. That's what you did. You put an earplug in your trigger.
Yeah. So like in my auto jacker, like even like, so sometimes when you're using like a flutter spoon in the jacker too, sometimes it'll jig and your jacker falls down faster than your spoon falls down. So you have that delay there, and sometimes your line will tend to fall out of the trigger. I mean, it's just bound to happen. So you put that earplug in there, and you can run, I run rip and wraps, I run flutter spoons. You can run anything you want on your jigging jacker with that earplug trick. It's just like something super small that I figured out. And the nice thing why I use an earplug, like it just floats, right? So you don't have to worry about it going down the hole or anything. You're always going to have it. It's never going to impede the hook set. Your line will just pull past it or it goes launching out. So
yeah, absolutely. No, that's pretty valuable. You know, you mentioned flutter spoons. Actually, my favorite one right here is the Williams Wobbler.
Absolutely.
This thing, walleye love it.
What I've been crushing the brookies on is this actual gold Tingler spoon.
Yep.
It's been working super well for me. And like I can set that up. So like I say, I fish a lot at night, right? So I'll go to sleep sometimes, depending what species it is, and I'll have two jackers or I'll have a jacker and a tip up because we can have two lines, right? So I'll put the flutter spoon on and I'll just have that jigging on the jigging jacker, and then I'll just have a jig in a minnow or whatever on the stationary jacker, and it hammers them, honestly.
Now, I'm going to call you out here. I think we're being set up because there's a certain someone in the room that says you're genius. And I feel like she has a personal interest vested in you. And that's Kathy. And she seems to pump you up a lot. So, you know, I don't know if this show is rigged or not. But, I mean, we got Lloyd just agreeing and someone calling you a genius. I'm just going to leave that topic alone, all right? Let's go right
my
in.
mom.
I know it's your mom. Oh, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
She's having a good laugh about that.
Man.
So we've talked about your tackle. What about the rod reel combination? Everyone's different. We talked about it last night. Let's see that setup you're running.
So for walleyes, guys, I run a 36-inch medium heavy. This is the St. Croix Mojo Ice. I got it paired with a Shimano Nasky and some 15-pound braid. I do believe this is 10-pound mono. I switch from 8 to 10 depending on how the bite is or the size of fish. But 36-inch medium heavy. I don't really like fishing smaller rods when I'm hole hopping, honestly. I like being able to sit back from my flasher a little bit. So now that there's a lot of larger rods coming out, it's super handy. So I recommend anything 36 medium heavy up to, I fish a 42 medium heavy as well, and great rods.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, actually. Even in my shack, I've come to notice, like, I brought an example of, well, this is a setup for tomorrow, right? I'm a bit of a Fluger snob, so there's my reel. This is a shorter rod. This is a 24. Okay, that's Cord Wenzel. I love this because in the shack, it makes it easier to just handle. I'm a bit of, there's a fish, rip it, right into the roof of the shack, getting all
and fishing in a flip over shack, that absolutely makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, with this short one, I'll run. Tomorrow I'm going to run the staple bait. Right, anyone that hasn't seen staple bait stuff, well, check him out. Ryan does phenomenal work there. That's one of his. I don't know. He says limited, but the dude keeps coming out with. Oh, look, these are limited, but here's some more. He's taken away from my action, man. Like, come on. Go ahead, bud.
Oh no, go ahead. Oh, I thought you weren't going to show that.
No, I'm gonna hold it like this.
Oh.
wait, 1 second. Ziegler's watching. I can't have him. This kid. I know how he operates. We're in trouble. Greg's here and Dino's here. We're actually, I'll talk about this one quick. So this is one I use in the shack, right?
Okay.
This is a 42-inch, same thing, Fluger reel, 15-pound braid. I'm running a little bit heavier fluoro on this. I'm running a 12-pound, right? And there's the hey Bobby, opposite. There's the jig I'll be using tomorrow. So as you guys can see, that's the finger. Yeah, that's the knuckleball finger jig. So let's see if I can take my hand off without hooking myself. Talking about these, Dino, we'll talk. I've actually got some awesome stuff. I have 48-inch rods from Cord Wenzel here. I won't show them to you right now because they're kind of buried. But, it's something about that action and that rod length that's amazing. And Bobby's asking, is a longer rod better in a jaw jacker setup?
To a degree, because a jaw jacker is only going to be able to handle something, I think, to about the 42-inch length, and that's going to be a lighter, so like a medium. You don't want to have to crank it over so hard you feel like you're going to break the rod. Like I know some of like the bigger quantums, like there's a 40-inch quantum. I've seen it snap going into a jaw jacker before. I don't necessarily like putting these mojos into a jaw jacker. So when I'm using my jaw jacker, it's actually on a 13 Microtech walleye rod. And I find it's just a little bit softer at the tip, so I can bend it over real nice. Amazing. The important thing when you're using a jaw jacker, guys, a lot of people have their tip so that it's like straight down like this kind of thing. You have to have that tip arched back when you set it in the jaw jacker. The thing about the jaw jacker when it sets the hook, right? So when it's arched back, this is straight up, right into the fish's top, right into his nose, right? If you got it just bent over like sideways like this, kind of sticking out, it's just going to pull it away from the fish right away. It just pulls it straight away.
Yep.
So that is one thing about the jaw jacker you got to remember, guys, is bend your rod right over like this.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just remembered that while I was holding on to it.
It's funny the things you think of just off the fly, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to go into the next subject. Now, obviously, we like to keep this to an hour. You and I could talk for days and days and days. And I see he's just rolling back in, sauntering along. I wanted Mitch to get involved in this because Mitch has a lot of experience in winter camping. We've seen what you've been doing with winter camping. A lot of people think we're crazy for doing overnight trips. I've done 3 nights in a truck with Sebastian. I've done, hunched over in my chair,
Yeah.
Let's talk about setting up winter camp. First, I guess we'll have to introduce this guy. I mean, questionable at best. I don't know that we're still friends. I mean, it's more about my feelings more than it is Mitch's. Mitch, great to see you again, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, boys. There's so much knowledge coming out of Adam right now.
I know. I don't even want to talk
I got my
about
pen
what
right
you got today.
I'm writing this down.
You look like you have a full belly of bourbon. We'll discuss that later.
I did yesterday. You were crushing the burbs today, eh?
Oh man, you've got to see the tanks that this dude was catching today.
Yeah, we were smashing burbs. Like they're just coming in as pre-spawn right now, so they're rolling. They're starting to roll around. They're starting to group up. So it was a good morning. It's just starting, so it's great to get them. And we're running out of time here in Central Alberta because it changes of February 1st. Can't keep in them.
Right. Yeah, like I fished them for the first time this weekend, and I got one. I noticed they're starting to move around a little bit, but yeah, your guys' season closes right away. So
yeah, no, I think actually the first time I met you, I think was with you and Todd, and we were burbot fishing.
Yep.
Yeah, and we crushed them.
Did I catch any fish? No, I don't. Oh no, I caught one.
Pike.
Yes, that's right. That was at Gull Lake. That was at Gull. That was, again, no location shared, but I do remember that trip. That was a lot of fun, and they were where we were expecting them.
Like, was that location really a pin? Because it felt like we just drove onto the lake until it got too sketchy, and then like with the amount of snow there was, and then I was like, let's just stop.
I tried going there on Sunday, and there was a heat. I couldn't get to it.
Oh, really?
Move around the whole lake to this one spot I like, and I fished it, and I was getting bites. I couldn't hook at anything, so I went back today, and sure enough, I was hooking up on pike, burbs all morning. It was I've had for a long time on one of those lakes.
Well, Mitch, Marcy, and I are going to be up there at Adventure Ice Fishing here beginning of February. I know we can't keep them, but I wouldn't mind going back to check that spot out. I think we might have to go scope that out a little bit and see what's going on.
Yeah, we definitely have two there.
So here we go, guys. 8 minutes. That seems like forever. But the truth of the matter is there's so much we could talk about with setup. Who wants to go first and talk about their experience with winter camping?
Give her to Adam.
I've been camping lots. The biggest thing for me is when I'm setting up camp is finding where those fish are moving through, because if I'm camping, you're there day and night, right? And those bites are completely different. So you need to be on a highway or you need to be in a concentrated area. So what I look for is structure, obviously. The structure I'm looking for is the sand to weeds. I need a sand flat because those fish at night are feeding on sand flats. That's what they're doing. A lot of times they're coming up, so I'll fish in the 10 to 8 foot range. I said 6 last night. Sometimes I'll move in, but I try to stick between 10 and 8. And then during the day, those fish are out a little bit deeper usually, right? So if you're not on a highway where they're traveling through constantly, then you're going to have to get out of your shack and go chase them, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can set up on a highway, you're going to increase your odds tenfold during the night.
That's phenomenal. Mitch, what about you?
Yeah, Adam said it pretty much all. If you're going to set up, you need that funnel point where those fish are moving through always, like bottlenecking. If you can get on like an area at the top of a drop-off where that drop-off's kind of turning into a V, they're going to funnel into that area and they're going to pop up and start chasing those bait fish. And that's what they're doing all night, especially eyes and those more nerves.
Yeah, like most of my walleye this year, like my big walleye have come at night, right? And that's where I am. It's an 8 foot ledge and it's 14 feet below it, and it's weeds all the way coming up, and then it's a sand flat, and I'm right on the edge of the sand flat. And if I'm in too far, it slows down, but if I'm right on it, I'm in the prime time spot.
Yeah, that's exactly where we were today for those burbs, because they're just coming out of the depths and they're starting to find that spawning area right now. So they're just focal pointing on right against those weeds, and where the sand meets, and they'll just get in their clusters and start rolling around in there and have their burb orgy, I guess.
Absolutely. I think location's probably the biggest thing to setting up camp for sure.
And you know what's funny? I winter camped last year. My only focus was how I was going to put this 6'6" frame in a pop-up tent with a cot in there. Sebastian and I were bunking, and by the time we put 2 cots in there, there wasn't enough room for a heater, and we're having to share a generator. And here you two legends are just talking about, well, this is where you need to set up the fish. Who cares about freezing?
Well,
Wow.
honestly, I freeze a lot.
Well, I think you kind of mentioned it last night through experience, of what happens. We're seeing a lot on social media where people are wondering what the best floor to put down in their shacks. I mean, obviously, guys are using that during the day, but overnight, what's your experiences with getting that ice covered up? What works best for you?
Mitch.
Well, plywood works good with that rubber top. You can buy that rubber stuff at dollar store. You can get a bunch of it. It's cheap. So if you have that plywood or even pallets, depending if there's flood water, if you can put some plywood on top of that pallet, they'll get you off the water, and then you can still fish good. You're not going to get wet because you're off the ground. You're not going to splash stuff up on top of it very often.
Yep. Makes
Yeah,
total
if you're
sense.
doing multiple day trips, it's important to get up, because I know I just run like a big rollout mat and then some clip togethers. So my floor is completely covered. But once I've been in there for 2 days with my heater running, I'm starting to get water coming through the cracks of where they clip together, right? So that's where that plywood and those pallets or what have you, getting you up off the ice is going to come in super clutch.
Cool. Well, they're all really good tips. I love how that segment went. We don't even care about the survival aspect. Let's talk about the fish. And I think that's what's cool. Right? Right, Mitch?
Really
Sure,
quick,
no
let's
survival.
just cover the fact: don't run your heater all night if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector, low oxygen sensor, because guys, it is dangerous to run a propane heater all night in a shack if you're not ventilating it properly. So just remember that, because that is something that is very dangerous.
It's a very valid point you bring up. I mean, a lot of people may not necessarily think about that, and it's even fishing during the day, right? And making sure that your vent flaps are open. Even when the weather is really nasty, you have to make sure you're getting that oxygen supply. You know, I'm actually going to do a review on my Buddy Flex. A lot of products out there have those low oxygen cutoffs, but you can never be too safe, right? I mean, you think about it, you're tired from the day, you're fishing, you're not always technically thinking about those points, but safety's first, right? Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about ice safety with Bryce. And there's so many things a person needs to take into account that most of us just don't. And it's learning the lessons the hard way, right? So maybe we'll kind of touch base on that next week too. Well, we're out of time with how to set up camp. We had some comments in here. I'll just change the banner because I'm obviously a little bit slow. Again, we're operating on a tight budget here. The heater I bought is on. That's about it. So we got some feedback here. Brendan's just saying that he finds a 30 to 36 inch rod is best for the jaw jacker. Short rods typically don't give a full rod bend, which I know we kind of talked about briefly, Adam. Who else do we got here? Greg. Dana saying, yep, bring that CO2 detector. If you guys have any questions for Adam, Mitch, or myself, we got about 11 minutes left. And I know what you're thinking. We're going to have to sit here and wait for questions. But Mitch is on here, and I want to say it's an open invite. And I don't think he's on here, but I had a little conversation with, I'll say, my buddy more than Adam's, because I just feel like I was a little bit cooler. And so I was having a conversation with someone about this guy that put us on some fish. Anyone that doesn't know, Scott Connolly, if you're on here, I'm coming back in May. We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Adam and I haven't talked about it.
I'm going in May.
Done deal, right?
Whether I got to go by myself or I got someone coming with me, I'm going in May this year.
It's done. Drum season opens up in Manitoba, I believe, on the 8th. Dude, I spent like an hour on the phone with Scott Connolly. Anyone that doesn't follow Scott or hasn't spent any time talking to him, I tell you what, man, you get jacked up. That dude doesn't even need to sell the experience. You and I spent 4 days out there. Phenomenal fishery, right? I wish Alberta had a master angler program like this. If you're not familiar with Manitoba's master angler program, check it out.
If you're not familiar with fishing in Manitoba, check it out.
Yeah,
it blew me away.
Get them greenbacks.
Yeah, they definitely know how to manage their conservation over there, whether it's hunting or fishing. They definitely are at the forefront of conservation for sure. They know what they're doing. And Scott is a great example of that. He's a great fisherman. He was definitely more than willing to show us around to the incredible fisheries. It was a lot of fun.
There's something about that dude that just, like I said, he just gets me fired up.
Absolutely.
I spent an hour on the phone with the guy, and he's like, "I won't do your accent, Scott. I don't know if you're watching, bud, but it's just." I said to Marcy, I'm like, "You know what I'm doing? I'm going to like accent school if there's one." And she's like, "Just don't, okay? You sound cool. You will not sound cool if you get an accent." What else we got here? Bill? Hey, Bill, I'll tell you what, man. Message me after the show. It's too long in the running. Bill's wanting to know when we can go slay. Bill, I fish during the week.
Meet up with a Bill, that's for sure.
Me first. Okay,
whatever.
Bill, why don't you shoot me a message later? For many of us, all three of us have talked about the struggle this year. Weekends have been the prime time for a lot of people, so I've been focusing during the week. I'm getting out tomorrow, but we're still getting out there and finding that it doesn't matter. We went for Brookies last week. There's like 15 people on the ice, right? The pressure's insane. Greg, we got an open invite from Greg.
Greg's in
February. Now,
if you're not following Greg, follow Greg.
Anyone that isn't seeing Greg catch what he's catching, I know he's on the hunt for some really big pike. The dude's a perch master. Although, Greg, I haven't seen you catch any perch this year. I guess maybe that's a whole nother conversation.
He was catching perch today, wasn't he? Or yesterday? I don't know. My days don't blend. Night shift is hard.
Greg, the heat is on because we've got a guest coming up in a few weeks. I'll check the schedule. Slays perch. I mean, I'm not even going to tell anyone who it is. You know who you are, Trevor Oh, my bad. Sorry. We're going to have Trevor Davies on, and I'm hoping between Greg, Greg was out today. He's saying I was out today. This is the whole focus of the show, right? Everyone's going to have their species, their target species, what they want to focus on. Greg's commenting on February. Now, Mitch, you and I know where we stand, but Adam, are you making the commitment today, pledging your allegiance to joining us at the
I know what you're going to say now.
Cold Lake Ice Fishing Derby, the Laker Derby?
It's time.
It's time. I really want to. This project is actually going super good at work, so it's looking better. We were really without getting too much into my work, what I'm doing. We have a project that's a rush on it, and it's actually looking pretty good now. It was looking a little rough there, and that's why I told you yesterday that it's looking a little glum. But it does look better for sure.
I feel like you're trying to let me down gently, so
no,
I will just
I'm honestly not, because I don't get to fish Lakers that often, and oh yeah, I know it'll be a ton of fun.
The three of us could talk hours for Lakers. I'm not going to lie. I've done Cold Lake the last 2 years. Anyone that was with me last year,
and the Burbs,
a grown man cry. Sebastian schooled us. I was struggling. I'm actually sitting in the tent. I won't repeat what I was saying, but I remember specifically looking in the direction of Sebastian's tent and really questioning my friendship with him. I mean, the dude schooled me. What's that, Mitch?
You said that today too.
Hey man, I'm not
He's very unsure about his friendships, obviously, Mitch.
It doesn't matter because Bill Allen's going to teach me how it's done next week. So, Bill, call in sick. I hope your boss isn't watching.
We'll be useless to him next week. He's got Bill now.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just next coattail. Cold Lake Derby's coming up February. I know we've all got some secrets, right? I really want Adam to come. We've been pushing Adam like, come on, dude, just call in sick. Just from what I'm seeing with activity on Facebook, on my own profile, it is gonna be a good one. 3 days. 3 days.
It's getting hammered out there.
It's going to be insane. I'm not going to lie. I'm not winter camping this year. Those days are done. I think Mitch and I are kind of talking. We're going to try to set up maybe a special broadcast or two from the Derby. I mean, with the whole new normal now, it's just phenomenal to see Matt Weaver and those guys be able to put together this tournament. And I know everyone's excited about it. You know, it's family fishing weekend, right, Mitch? I believe. So
Yeah.
Sylvan's got the big jig contest. And I'm sure there's a few others out there. If you guys are aware of any of those events or anything like that, just maybe shoot us a message so we can kind of try to promote those, right? The Jake Soffert Memorial is coming up into February. For anyone that's not familiar with that, you should check it out. But it's Derby season, you know. Let's get out there and show people what we have. Mitch, you're going to send me those pins, so that would be perfect. But Adam, it would just be awesome to see you up there.
Derbies are a lot of fun. I mean, I fished a few of them, and they definitely push you mentally as well. You got to learn, you got to adapt, and you got to work really, really hard. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we got Dana asking. Dana, I believe the dates are February 12th to 14th. You can check it out online. Registration, I believe, is $50 a person. There's a ton of prizes. They've just put together some awesome stuff.
Yeah, and I think they're adding
prizes and packages like Fish Donkey. You can register through there. That's, you know, talk about conservation. That's how they're going to do it. So it's just going to be exciting. So, you know, with that being said, an hour flew by that fast. Can you guys believe it?
I'm really not surprised. I could stay here and bug you for a little longer.
And Mitch is going to go back to his burbot feast. I have a special guest. I'm fishing with tomorrow. I'm not going to lie. If the kid outfishes me, we're going to have an issue. So I'm prepping for tomorrow. We'll see if I catch fish. I don't know what happens. Mitch, I want to thank you for joining us again this week. Just super happy we managed to scrape this thing together. Adam, I love you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time with us this week to share just what it is about the passion, right?
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
It made me cry. No, you're not going to make me cry.
I'm going to cry as soon as I get out of here.
I just love you guys. Dance. Hey,
don't watch my YouTube videos if you don't like watching me dance.
Dance. All right, everyone. That pretty much wraps up our show this week. From all of us here at On the Other Line Canada, check us out on Facebook and YouTube. We'll do a quick sponsor slide at the end. Rock Hard Tackle, Adventure Ice Fishing, Fish Whip Apparel, my charity, Use Can Fish 2. We'll have more to talk about with them. Hidden Waters LTD. I know I'm forgetting so many of you. Scott Stewart, Realistic Outdoors. Next week, Bryce, Troubled Life. Tune in. We'll have the speed round, 5 questions with Big Bryce on Monday. Stay tuned, everyone. I hope you have a great week. Thanks again for joining me. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.